Hi, everyone, and welcome to another A and B Horror Movies video. I'm Aaron,
Ben.
and today we are very happy to be joined by Tristan Barr. Tristan, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks, guys, for having me.
It's
Thanks
going
for
to be
coming
fun.
on.
We can't wait to talk with you about your new film Subject, which is streaming now. But before we get to that, you wear many hats. You're a producer, a director, an actor, a writer, an editor. What did I forget?
I think
Does that sum
just
it up?
indie filmmaker is really what just
Indie
encompasses all of
filmmaker,
those.
all of
Yeah,
those things.
I wouldn't really consider myself all of those things, but I out of necessity have had to do a lot of them. Yeah,
Wear many hats. Yes, yes. Well,
yeah.
like I said, Subject is streaming now. It is a sci-fi horror psychological thriller. What I really liked about it is that it crosses multiple subgenres. You could refer to it as a creature feature, found footage, psychological thriller. Like I said, it's sort of a mix of all the subgenres that come under horror, which is what we really liked about it. Let's see. And recently, the New York Times picked it as one of 5 streaming horror movies to watch, which is amazing. So congratulations on that. I saw that pop
Yes.
up, well deserved.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Yeah, it's crazy. We shot this film on a very shoestring budget, and we kind of, we love practical effects and things like that, and we didn't even, so we were kind of figuring out, the cheap ways to do everything, and so it's really cool to see the reception it's had, and like obviously, the horror fans out there who are kind of starting to kind of give us good feedback, which is awesome, because when you make these things, you are in this kind of long process of, will anyone even kind of watch this or appreciate this? And it's a years of kind of slaving away to kind of get it there. So it's been really nice to kind of have people like yourselves who kind of want to have me on. It's just I love chatting about horror films, and it's awesome to kind of
Yeah.
see that. Yeah.
Oh, that's so cool. Congratulations.
Yeah. It's
Thank
brilliant.
Yeah, it's a big accomplishment, and I can see that you're very happy to get people who are watching it and like it and want to talk with you. And I think you'll get even more of that as people learn about the film and watch it. I do also want to say that you directed a crime thriller in 2017 called Watch the Sunset, which I did get to watch a few days ago, and I found it amazing. It's a very powerful film. It's not horror, but it's really well done. I just wanted to give a plug for that. If you haven't seen it, I told Ben today, I was like, you got to watch this one too. If you haven't seen it, check out Watch the Sunset. It's really well done. And with that, why don't we, Ben, do you want to ask the first question or do you want me to kick it off?
No, I can ask. It's first of all, well done with the film. I watched it today because I like to leave things to the last minute. But
But I did tell him, I've been telling him for weeks, it's so good, you got to check it out.
yeah. But, I kind of, as I was watching this, Aaron did say to me it reminded him of a certain thing, and I kind of see that. So I'm wondering where you got the inspiration for it from. If there was there a certain movie or show or
Yeah, well, there wasn't one in particular because we had a script given to us, which was the mind of Vincent Bayfy, and he's an American guy. He actually works as a production manager on like all the big kind of studio films. So whilst we were shooting his film's subject, well, his script subject, he was working on Space Jam too, and he, many times he was saying to us, kind of like, "I'd much prefer to be there with you guys," kind of in the trenches, just kind of figuring out, because what my job is basically kind of being a glorified sort of like assistant, and so it basically came from his mind, and we had to kind of figure out how exactly we were going to shoot it and the inspirations we were going to use. So once we kind of got his script, it wasn't initially written as a surveillance or found footage film. That's something that we kind of put on top of it. Like in the film, he did have a lot of in the script. He did have a lot of to camera moments where he was kind of doing a daily sort of update to kind of the facility. But none of it was kind of that surveillance style. So that was something that we kind of put on top. And then we also, we had a lot of, as soon as kind of we read the script, it made us think of Old Boy and kind of this sequence where he's stuck in the room there. And so we used a lot of inspiration and just the fact that it's so wacky, and, the kind of whole kind of concept so wacky. It kind of falls into this Lynchian horror where the monster just exists there in the space, and then so it was kind of an amalgamation of a whole bunch of influences that we had, and we just kind of cherry picked what we liked from those sorts of films to kind of inspire us. From your perspective, Ben and Aaron, what was it that drew similarities to this?
It was Aaron said to me, he said, you're going to like it. It's like an episode of Black Mirror. And I was like, right.
Yes.
But then I watched the trailer and I was like, I could sort of see it in the trailer. And then with obviously the angles of the camera and sort of the different sort of lenses, it did, yeah. I totally agree. It was like a I quite enjoyed that.
And a well done Black Mirror episode. Very well done, I should say. That was a great question to kick it off. So, Tristan, I have sort of a logistical question. What was the filming like? How long did it take? And for those who haven't seen it, a lot of it does take place in one sort of setting, right? And it's very claustrophobic when you watch the movie. Did it feel claustrophobic when you were filming it? What was it like actually being on set, and how long did it take? How did everyone fare? Did everyone make it out alive?
It actually, thank God the film felt claustrophobic, because we definitely felt it in the process of it. It was in Melbourne, in Australia. We shot it, and it was in the middle of winter, and it gets quite cold there. And we built the set in like a warehouse, and we had sort of 8 cameras going at one time, some of the times, and so we had to have lots of people crammed in, kind of monitoring the different cameras, and they took care of that. And then we had all the kind of crew personnel, so it was very tight and claustrophobic, and it was a very tricky shoot, because I much prefer going and shooting outdoors, and you kind of are moving throughout, but this was just all in the one. So you kind of come out from a day of shooting and you're mentally just exhausted because you've been in that one space. It's like being in a horrible sort of study room or exam room or something all day, and you just kind of are kind of plotting through it. So some of the crew, and also definitely the cast, they started to have like really severe nightmares throughout the process. The main actor, he developed like a tic during the filming, so which was just because of kind of the stress on his body. He was you can kind of see it in the film. Sometimes he'll kind of nod like this, and it's just this thing he developed through the stress of kind of being in that environment. So it wasn't pleasant, the shoot, to be honest. And it's one of those things you don't know going in. So we're glad it's getting a life now. The pain's kind of worth it.
Yeah, of course. I want to ask, do you still have anxiety dreams about it? Like you're trapped in the room yourself? I think I did have one. I think I had one nightmare after watching it.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, I do sometimes. it definitely left a mark on me, and because of the there are some darker themes in there. That stuff really stressed me, and because not because I suppose going into those sorts of themes as well, you want to be sensitive to people that obviously have their own sort of trauma and things like that, and so that was weighing on me heavily, and also kind of the sorry, Steve, who plays Willem, the main character.
Yeah.
He's had experience within his family of kind of trauma and abuse of that sort of nature. So it was really kind of palpable, that stuff, and very real, and um, you can see, as like, to some of the places he gets to emotionally, it's like there's something he's really, like, he's not dealing with personally, but he's really tapping into in terms of the trauma sort of stuff.
Sure.
Yeah, yeah.
Excellent.
It's interesting that you say, like, when you were filming stuff, you sort of got a bit tense yourself, and because I sort of found some of it where I was getting quite frustrated, because you're kind of like wanting to see more, and you can, and then there's a part of you can see that the main character's sort of wanting out of this into the world again, and is not getting it, and you kind of start getting frustrated for him, but yeah, it leaves you with this, you want to know more of what's going on, so you're kind of stuck there. So yeah, I think you've done a really good job of delivering, really, because it's quite frustrating. So
Yeah. Well,
you must have been really frustrated at the end of filming it.
Yeah, totally, and it's great, and it's great feedback, because we want, it quite easily could have been a film where you just get bored, because it essentially is like, one guy in a room for the majority of it, and anything like that, that was a real concern for us, because we didn't want it to feel just ever stagnant. You had to kind of, part of I think the appeal to us is the mystery behind everything, and kind of how you guys, as the audience, having to kind of be the sleuths and kind of, okay, what does that mean? What is that thing there? That's a clue for something. What is that going to lead to? All that sort of stuff.
Yes.
So yeah.
Well, it's good. I think you get like the dark bits, and then you go back to his memories with the lighter bits, and it's kind of like a relief. You're like, light, but then you're chucked back again, and it works really well. So I think that's quite cool.
And let me add on to that. I like that. Very well said, Ben. I like that the TV showed some of his flashbacks. Like, that's how he was experiencing it. I think that was a really effective technique. That worked really well. I mean, that's not really a question, but I just wanted to throw that out there.
Thank you.
So, Ben, do you have a question? Or do you want me to jump in?
I did actually. I was just going to ask, how difficult was it filming with like the different angles of shots with the different cameras? Because obviously, usually you could be filming and you'd be filming maybe with one camera or two cameras, but this is kind of like everywhere. So did you just all have them going at once and then choose the right shot for each bit, or did you know?
Yeah, we just mainly, like, we started off shooting with 8 cameras, and then we realized we're not going to use all of the 8 cameras at once, so that was going to take way too much data to kind of that we would chew through. So then like, I plotted where the cameras were very specifically to, like, how the action in the kind of things would kind of take place, because then we needed to, although although it's all kind of cameras that are moving and stuff like that, they're on different parallels, and so it was very limited in terms of the shot selection that we had to tell the whole story. And so um, they kind of we got some key cameras that we knew we'd get those key moments in, and that really helped kind of pull it into more of a cinematic sort of space than it would be if it was just kind of like a wide shot the whole time and all this stuff was playing out. So yeah, that was the trickiest thing about doing surveillance, but trying to make it more engaging than just kind of a wide shot. Yeah, we took a lot of energy into kind of placing all the cameras.
And a few of the close-ups, like when Willem is sort of hitting rock bottom again, were very effective, very emotional, and they worked really well. I wanted to talk a little bit about the monster effects. So let's talk about the monster. So tell us about what it was like working with the effects. So there's no CGI, and also the evolution of the monster, because originally I often say that, and you may agree with this, what you don't see is perhaps the scariest when you watch a movie. Like the Blair Witch Project is terrifying because you don't see the Blair Witch. In this, you just get sort of glimpses of the monster, and then you start to see a little bit more, but you don't really get a full view of the monster. And what you see in the beginning of the monster isn't what it is at the end of the film. So there's like an evolution. So I don't really know what my question is. I just kind of went around in circles there.
Yeah, no, that's
what
great.
was it like with the monster effects and the evolution of the monster? How was that?
Yeah, very perceptive, because I think some people kind of miss the evolution of the monster throughout, and is kind of subtly kind of growing, and and also getting a lot larger throughout. But we had the one actor play all of the monster, Joey Lay, and he's a giant human being. He must be like 8 foot tall. He's humongous. Like when you kind of see him in real life, you're like, wow, he's a giant. And when
so
we
cool.
yeah. So and he's a great actor, a great physical performer, and
Mhm.
he we started off like we wanted to keep him in the shadows for as long as possible. As you said, it's kind of what's the unknown is more scary, and so we kind of started him small, and basically kind of the practical effects makeup artist, Aline Joyce and Ollie Savage, they had this design where they wanted him to look like a fetus kind of to start with. So he kind of has this skin mask over his entire body, almost like a sack. And that's how he starts. And then as the film kind of progresses, and Willem starts to get more and more sort of into his history and into his denial of his past, the monster starts to grow and haunt him further, and we start to strip off the layers of this skin, revealing elements of the monster kind of throughout. And so I think there's very specific moments of the flashbacks that kind of relate to the monster's evolutions. For instance, I think when we first see the monster's kind of hair, that's at a specific moment of a flashback, and also when we're kind of revealed to kind of the teeth and stuff. And what was tricky about that was that Willem, in his denial of everything, like he kind of starts to befriend the monster, which I thought is such a weird. That whole thing was so weird, and it takes it into a whole new place when like you're getting haunted. Not only are you getting haunted, but you start to like befriend the thing that's kind of haunting you.
I loved that too.
Yeah, yeah,
Like an
that was something
unlikely friendship, and then it sort of goes to a darker place. But yeah, for sure, that was nicely done. Well, let me ask you this: was that in the script, or did you sort of improvise when you were filming to make that sort of intimacy, I guess?
Yeah, no, that was definitely in the script. That was something
Mm.
Vincent had kind of come up with, and again was so weird because usually you read horror scripts and it's you never at any point become friends with
The
the
monster.
thing that's haunting you. Yeah, um, and so that was where it you know kicked it up a gear in a whole new level of weirdness, and I love that because it to me that's the most uncomfortable thing when we do start to um, we start to entertain these kind of evil things in us, and we allow them to exist, and I suppose that's what that's what it hopefully kind of portrays, but it definitely is a weird feeling when you see it.
Yes, for sure.
Did as you were saying about we were saying about the evolution of the monster. Was there any sort of other designs that was well made that wasn't used, and then you was like, oh, we'll go with this, and then sort of it just changed over time as well?
Yeah, we actually, because in the script, we saw a lot more of the monster in the script, and we were going to have an older actor who was about like 80 or 90 years old play the first evolution. So basically, from the kind of fetus, we were going to have like pretty much like a really frail old man as the first evolution of the monster, and we were going to show him in all of his kind of glory, like almost like fully naked, but with kind of the skin treatments that the designers were using. um and that's something we eventually decided not to go through. Firstly, because it would have shown too much too soon of the monster, and I like that kind of half the film you just don't see it, and so everything's always a lot more scary, in our minds than I think when we've kind of finally revealed stuff. Um,
Mhm.
and the fact that we were shooting in the freezing cold, and to have like a 90-year-old guy naked in a warehouse would have been very tricky. Yeah.
Yeah, I could see there'd be some challenges with
Yeah.
that. Awesome. I wanted to talk a little bit about Steve Phillips. So he plays Willem in the film. In a lot of the movie, it's just him acting by himself. What was it like working with him? Have you worked with him before? And what sort of direction did you have to give him while filming?
He was actually my movement coach at I went to a acting school here in Australia, like one that kind of a whole bunch of um, big actors kind of go to, and then
Oh, cool.
and so he was the movement coach at this school. So he was kind of he had gone through the school maybe 10 years before me. Um, and I remember we got along really well, and so I'd seen him in shows on stage, and he is just an unbelievably committed actor that it really lives the role, but is able to kind of um, let it go. So, and he uses a lot of kind of physical work to kind of get to emotional places and stuff.
Mhm. Oh, we lost your audio.
He would be able to kind
Oh,
of
you're back.
Oh, so
We
oh,
lost your audio
sorry,
for a second. No, you're back now.
lost me.
Go ahead.
Oh, good, good. Yeah, so I knew he would get to the emotional places needed to kind of hold the film, to hold the audience, for that kind of 90 minutes in that one room. And so um, I didn't really have to give him much direction. He did all of his own preparation. He knew how to kind of unlock certain things. He brought so much to, the space and, physically, but, in terms of like the blocking and the actions. But then he also, um, he had kind of ideas through the whole script that, he kind of used. And there's one scene, I think, in the film where he's starting to talk to the different cameras, and he's kind of labeled them all a certain thing. Like he just came up with all of that stuff himself. You know, he just kind of existed in the space. He was pulling, you know, we were shooting for, you know, some days like 14 hours, and he would just stay in there and just kind of live it. And, you know, that's just dedication, really. And he's an amazing performer. And yeah, I was very,
Very,
very
very
grateful to have
talented.
him.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very
Kind of
talented.
reminded me of, who's the actor who played he played Freddy Krueger in the remake?
Oh,
Oh yeah.
It kind of reminded me of him. Like he had that kind of
Yeah.
as he was sort of losing his
I can't
sanity.
think of his name.
He kind of reminded me of that. He got a bit more. Yeah, it was cool.
Totally. Yeah.
Is it Jackie Earl? Yeah, Jackie Earl Haley.
Yeah.
Yeah, very, very similar. Very talented. I must ask, has he recovered? Is he okay now? Everything is, he's recovered from the shooting.
Yeah. He's a true professional, and he he's an amazing kind of physical performer. So I think as soon as that show was done, he was off onto another shoot, onto another stage show or something like that. So yeah, it's great. It's kind of you know, all of the actors really, they all were so committed, and it was really a pleasure to work with every single one of them.
Yeah, it all sort of, the stars aligned, I would say. I think it came together really nicely, and it's a film that people need to watch. Before I forget though, I must ask, what is a movement coach? I've never had acting training, so is it like how do you move on stage?
Yeah. So they there's this type of acting theory where when you go kind of train at a drama school, they kind of try and break you down to a neutral palette, what they call. So like, you know, so you kind of go back to real basic stuff of like walking, moving, and then you kind of build your character on top of that, you know, neutral palette. And then taking it further, then you use kind of movement to kind of get you into emotional states and stuff like that. So you know, a lot of the like top performers who kind of have to cry, you know, for every night on stage, or they have to kind of you know, do something like that. A lot of that is kind of physical. It's not like they're actually living the emotion every time. And so he was basically the guy who taught me that. And he would use he kind of had developed this technique with a few of the other more senior coaches about devising improvisation from movement. So basically, like, he could walk around the space and then just use his impulse to kind of like create things that we filmed, essentially. So like, you know, he's doing a lot of push-ups and he's doing a lot of running back and forth. Like, all of that was just like, that wasn't in the script. That's kind of just him trying to like find things. Yeah.
And it worked well. Okay, awesome. Thank you. You learn something new every day. Ben, do you have another question, or do you want to? We could.
Yeah.
Move on to, go ahead.
Quick one. You're saying you sort of built all the set in a big warehouse. How long did that take? Oh no, obviously it wasn't such a big sort of set because it was like one room. But how long did that take? And because you say it wasn't a big set, but there was quite a lot to look at for it being a small room. So yeah, I was just wondering how long it all took to.
We were really lucky in that day. So Dave Gim, the producer, got on the production designer, and Daniel, and so we literally had, because we didn't have much money to kind of make the film, we literally they had to build it within the week, and then, you know, tear it down, I think, within 2 days after. And so it was incredible. Like they would do it, pulling some big hours to kind of, build the kind of the rooms and stuff like that. And it really came together last minute. Like a big part of the film is that kind of perspex glass where you think, he thinks it's double-sided. It's a double-sided mirror, but there is a reveal that it's not, and he can kind of see everything. That was such a big part of the design build, like to get that right, to kind of make sure that we weren't seeing too much or too little of the monster. But they pulled it all together in the week. And then obviously, like, we had to light it and stuff after that. But yeah, it was amazing what the producer and the production designer Daniel pulled together.
Yeah. That whole the double-sided mirror, when he realizes I see something in there, that was such a moment. You're like, oh my God. Well, we could talk about your new film for another hour or two, but we thought it would be fun to talk a little bit about what are some of your favorite sci-fi horror movies. Maybe and
cool.
we picked some of our favorites too. So what would you say is your, I don't know, you go first. What would you pick?
Yeah, that's a really tricky question, because I thought about this a while back, and I think what kind of for when I was growing up, even though it's not really, I mean, it is sci-fi horror, but it's not like extreme. But what really kind of I got obsessed with growing up was Donnie Darko. So that kind of
A great movie.
and just kind of a real that just poses a lot of questions, and I think, and particularly with the time travel and these kind of other elements, like I just got obsessed with that. Me and my brother would just watch that on repeat and debate all of the elements of it and go, no, that doesn't mean that. And so that that is kind of what has kind of led me down the pathway, I think, of like sci-fi horror. And I definitely then I went into kind of all the classics, as you do. The Thing, and all, everything that kind of, we would know. So it's something it's something I'm excited to kind of see more of. I'm curious to see what you guys have chosen as your
well, before we get to that, I wanted to say that Donnie Darko is a great choice, because doesn't the rabbit in that evolve as a monster? Like, it starts out kind of friendly, but then turns into like this really grotesque sort of rabbit.
Totally. Yeah. And such a weird thing that it's just called Frank,
Yes.
Frank.
Oh, it's such a good movie. It's funny you mentioned that. A local movie theater is playing it tonight at 10 p.m. I don't think I'll go,
cool.
but
I heard.
maybe.
That's
Ben,
awesome.
do you want to go? Which ones did you pick? I got 3, I think.
Well, the first one was just like it's a classic. I just picked it because it was just a fun one. It's Night of the Comet.
Oh, I love that one. Yeah, that's good.
Cool 80s one.
Yes.
I couldn't find the box, but I went with Alien.
Of course.
I think if you go with space horror, so far it's kind of claustrophobic anyway. But my number one is The Thing.
Yeah. Oh, that's a nice addition too. 4K. I love Event Horizon. It's not, I mean, it's great space horror. It's not really, I mean, I guess it's kind of a psychological thriller, but I picked 3 that, so Tristan, I feel like Subject, your movie, really makes you think afterward, and it kind of stays with you a long time. So I picked 3 that I think are similar to that and really make you think. I got Possessor. It's quite good. I got Under the Skin, Scarlett Johansson. I thought was awesome. And The Endless, which is sort of like a cult sci-fi horror. I don't know.
Kind of like a time loop.
Yeah, like a time loop, right? And the ending of that is amazing, where they're like running and time loops are like chasing them. I don't know if you've seen all
love
these
that.
films, but yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
And I've just got
Yeah.
Event Horizon because that's amazing.
Oh, that's awesome. I was going to ask on any of those because I haven't got the Blu-rays or the collectibles or those films specifically.
For sure.
Have you guys watched any of the BTS on any of those? Is there any kind of crazy stories because I always find it fascinating, the people's kind of trajectory behind the makings of films. I know I'm actually prepping for a film that kind of is like a mix between sort of like The Exorcist meets Benjamin Button. It's like this
cool.
kind of guy. This guy has like a curse in his family, and he kind of ages if he ages every time he saves a life, and he de-ages every time he kills someone. And basically, there's this whole kind of there's balance thing, and there's this kind of heaven and hell battle between good and evil in it. I always just find it fascinating. And I know that The Exorcist, they've been watching some of the behind the scenes films about the making of that, and I always find it fascinating, particularly in the horror space, because just there's some wild things that occur during kind of the making of these things.
The original. I've got you.
Yes,
The original,
yeah,
not the new one. The original.
Not the new one. Yeah, I haven't seen the new one. Have you guys seen the new one?
I haven't been.
No.
Yeah.
Right.
And in fact,
I didn't say that because it's that's a bit mean. That's somebody's time and hard work. That's a bit naughty, but
it was a miss.
Right? Yeah. Right. Okay.
Too bad.
Yeah. It's one of those things. I think, like, if people, particularly if they've got too much money and it becomes like a franchise movie, it's hard for the filmmakers to put their stamp on it and like to really go adventurous with it. I don't know. Did you think that, Ben? Was it just kind of generic? What was it?
So this is. I said to Aaron, it kind of went from 0 to 100 in like seconds. I still didn't care for the characters by the end. And as silly as this sounds, because the first one's got a girl with her head spinning around, spewing green stuff, levitating, that still felt more grounded and like it could happen than this one, which was
interesting.
It was too much. It was too much, and I didn't kind of enjoy it. But it was free, so we went.
Yeah, you won movie tickets. Yeah. People aren't being very kind to it.
I don't know.
What do you guys think? You want to do a few trivia questions? I got some from the Trivial Pursuit game. I picked out some monster and psychological questions.
Okay, cool.
So what do you want first, monster or psychological?
Let's do monster.
All right. This is an easy one. Night of the Living Dead in 1968 was the debut of what filmmaker?
Oh, are you on this, Ben? Are you with me on this, or is this just on me?
No, you guys jump in. So I may have screened them. So
if you don't get it, I kind of have an attempt.
I'm absolutely terrible with these sorts of games, but Night of the Living Dead, the filmmaker,
Dawn of the Dead.
Who
begins with a G.
Who is it? It's,
George Romero.
Yes, of course. Yeah.
Let's see. What was the psychological one? Or no, that one's hard. What was the name of the Stephen King novel that the Pet Sematary movie in 1989 is adapted from? And ironically, my cats are having a fight right behind me.
I thought so. It's not Pet Sematary, the original novel. I didn't know.
It is Pet Cemetery. It's a trick question.
Okay.
These are
Cool.
falling flat. Let's. Oh, here's a multiple choice. In the Alien 1979 film, what character is revealed to be an android? Is it Ripley, Dallas, Ash, or Kane?
Oh, I love Alien.
Well, it's not
An android.
Ripley.
No. Is it Dallas?
It is Ash.
Ash.
Who knew one?
Who knew, right? Let's see. We'll do one more. What Rocky Horror Picture Show actor traded a corset for clown makeup in Pennywise in the 1999 miniseries It?
The main guy who's brilliant. Yeah, I can't remember. Tim.
Tim.
Yeah.
Yep. Tim Curry.
Tim.
Yep.
Tim Curry. Yes. Yeah.
Oh,
He's
this one's
awesome.
funny. When sunlight hits the skin of vampires from Twilight, the Twilight Saga, what happens?
I've never seen one.
You've never seen any of the
Actually,
Twilight movies?
Didn't any of the Twilight?
I'm assuming. Well, this is really interesting because I haven't seen them either. But this film that I'm prepping for. I mean, it people when I pitched it to some people, particularly younger generations, they're like, "Oh, kind of like a Twilight sort of thing." I'm like, "No, it's not like that." But they said that, someone was telling me like, oh, they break a lot of rules of the kind of, werewolf vampire thing. So I assume it was like sunlight bubbles your skin or something, burns you, but maybe something different happens.
It sparkles.
Oh, it's fun. There you go.
Yeah. I had to throw that one in. It's pretty funny.
That's hilarious. Yeah.
I don't know if we should do any more. Oh, here, Ben. This one's for you. In Jaws, what famous line does Police Chief Brody say to Quint upon first seeing the shark?
Now, right. You're going to try and get me on this one because everybody thinks that he says we're going to need a bigger boat, but it's actually you're going to need a bigger boat.
Yeah, it says you're going to need a bigger boat. Nicely done.
Very nice.
Yeah,
it's only because I'm a Jaws addict.
Jaws is Ben's favorite film. I don't know if any of these are any good. We can just skip them all, I guess.
Actually, someone was telling me about the sequence, that they thought it was their favorite sequence of every film was when, the captain is kind of giving the speech in the boat the night before. I have to rewatch that now to kind of.
Yeah, someone's telling me. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, they were like, "That's my favorite speech from any movie ever."
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good. Well, this has been awesome. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah.
Before we go, a couple things. How can people watch Subject? How can people find you on social media?
Yeah, so Subject is available on Screenbox in the US. Good news, it's coming to Australia and the UK, Ireland on Shudder. So that hasn't been kind of this. That's exclusive. I haven't really told anyone that just yet. So you guys are kind of first people to know, really.
Excellent.
And we've got a few. It's selling to other territories at the moment. So if you're outside of that, just keep a lookout that we should be up and running soon in a few different places. You can follow my company, Continuance Pictures, not Continuous, but Continuance Pictures on social media. And the same with me, I'm on there, and we're doing a lot of stuff with kind of indie filmmakers and a lot of horror, a lot of thriller sort of stuff. So definitely, we appreciate your support and thank you guys for having me on. It's awesome to kind of speak films with you.
Oh, for sure. And let us know about your future projects because we'll have you on again in a second. So just keep us updated.
Appreciate that, guys.
Yeah, this has been great. Ben, do you want to do a shout out to the shirt you got on?
Yeah, this is a big thank you to AI Dream Realms that sent me this cool werewolf t-shirt.
That's awesome.
Big thank you to those. Wicked. Check them out. They are on Instagram at AI
Awesome.
Dream Realms.
And I wanted to do one shout out. We have our
Oh, yeah.
new tumblers that have arrived. You can see our mugshots down at the bottom. It even looks like us. And if you scroll around to the back, it's got like a cemetery, which is pretty cool. Tabby Crafts, we partnered with them to create this tumbler. So if you are interested in this, head over to tabbycrafts.com and check out the tumblers there.
I have to speak to you guys. That looks sick. I want to get one of them, and I have to speak to you guys about getting some merch for Subject Made with some of the stuff, and you guys can maybe advise me on where to do that. I know,
sure. Yeah,
I know
let us know.
Screenbox are doing some releases, but I mean for the, you guys obviously have some really cool stuff going, so I have to speak to you guys about that.
Yeah, we can talk offline. Well, like I said, this has been great. Love the film. If you haven't seen it and you're watching, check it out on Screenbox. We think you will like it.
Yep.
Awesome.
Super thanks for coming on, Tristan. If you haven't seen the film and you get the chance, you definitely should. It's atmospheric, dark, kind of frustrating, and
in a good way.
In a good way, and it's just really, really good. I want to say a really nice, innocent, and I mean this in the best way, slow burning dread of a movie, which is good. So yeah, I mean
that's great.
So,
can I quote you guys in that? It's like it's a slow burning dread, and then Aaron saying in a good way,
Yeah, you can put like an ellipsis.
Yeah. Thanks, guys.
Yes,
appreciate
this has
it.
been great. All right, bye everyone.
All right, guys. See you later.